and go for it.
Hey, great. Thank you. Welcome, everybody, to the regular meeting of the East Hampton Town Trustees. It's January 11th, 2021. Arlene, can I ask, Arlene, are you here? No, Arlene. Okay.
I believe she is here. Give her a second to unmute.
I'm here. I couldn't unmute, but I was going to say everyone really should mute unless they're talking. There's a lot of feedback, like you said.
Okay, Arlene, we're on the air.
Sure. Okay.
Can you do a roll call, please?
Sure. Okay, we have John Aldred, please.
Here.
Francis Bach.
Here.
Ben Dollinger.
I'm here.
Rick Drew.
Here.
Tim Garneau.
Here.
Jim Grimes. Mike Martinson.
Here.
Susan McGraw-Keeber. Bill Taylor.
Here.
And I hope I didn't go out. Okay, so Susan and Jim Grimes, is he here yet, or are we waiting on him?
He's not
Okay.
here yet. He's coming.
I'll keep my eye out. Okay.
Susan
Yeah.
is here. She's on
Susan
mute.
is
I
here.
don't know if she called in, but you were on mute. You're on mute, Susan.
You're muted.
Yeah, but Susan is here.
Thank you, Dan. I'm here, Arlene. Sorry, I was on mute.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, everyone except Jim, who we're expecting shortly. Thank you. Back to Francis.
Okay, can we please start with the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of
Flag,
the United States of America,
America,
to the republic
The Republic for which
which
it
is
for which it
stands,
stands,
One
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 nation,
nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
for all.
You're here.
Thank you, everybody. All right, Jason, do we have anyone on the line?
Oh, we have quite a few people on the line. I'm going to go pass this over to Mike Tremblay very shortly, but I'll unmute the first caller. All right.
Okay. Jason, I'm sorry, can I interrupt you? I've lost my picture.
You've lost your picture.
I have the Zoom menu page somehow.
Look along the bottom of your screen, Francis, and see if there's a little thing that says Zoom and click on that.
I got it. Thank you, Dan.
Okay, so are we
Okay.
ready to take callers?
Yeah, one moment. Okay, so we're going to open up a public comments. The trustees will be accepting public comment regarding the press release and 3 draft agreements between East Hampton Town Trustees, South Fork Wind Farm LLC, which includes our lease agreement. We have received quite a few comments via email, and tonight we'll actually listen to people who want to call in. So Jason, if you don't mind, we can start with first caller.
Okay, first caller, number ending in 7155. You are live and on the air.
Hello
Yes,
there.
hi, good evening.
Please
My name
introduce
is Paul
yourself.
Munoz. Yes, my name is Paul Munoz. I'm a resident of Springs, and I'm the vice chair of the Energy Sustainability Committee. And I just wanted to thank you guys for the opportunity to call in. And I wanted to congratulate the town and the trustees on finalizing agreements for the South Fork Wind Farm. And basically, yeah, just called in to support. Thank you guys. And I know that this has a lot of steps to go, but I think this is going to be overall a great project for everyone here on the East End.
Okay,
Thank you, Paul.
thank you very much.
Thank you guys.
I guess we'll take the next caller, Jason.
Okay, this is actually Mike Tremblay now, stepping in for Jason. The next caller is the last
Hey, Mike.
Hello. Last 4 digits are ending in 7550. I'm unmuting them right now.
Hello, caller. Hello? Is there a caller on the line?
Hello, caller. Last four digits ending 7550. Are you there? Hearing nothing, Chair, I can mute and move on to the next caller.
Please.
Can you hear me now?
Sir,
there.
please repeat that.
Can you hear me now? 7550.
Yes, state your name.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. My name is Roger Clayman. I am the executive director of Long Island Federation of Labor. I've sent in some comments, so in the interest of time, I'll brief and just summarize. Again, I also would like to thank you for your hard work in getting to where you are and reaching an agreement on this joint project. For us, the really exciting thing about it is the opportunity to create jobs in this emerging industry. This project will get it started. Without getting it started here, I don't believe we can open the door to the tremendous number of jobs this will create on Long Island and as well as here. We're very fortunate that our two developers, Orsted and Eversource, are really committed to doing this in an environmentally sensitive way and to providing jobs and to provide job training so that the emerging workforce can have those benefits. I think that'll benefit people in East Hampton as well as across the island. So, all know the benefits that are in it, so I won't repeat them out loud, but thank you for taking my comments, and I hope you support it.
Thank you so much.
Moving on to the next caller, Chair.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The last four digits of this caller is 9193. Unmuting right now.
Hello, caller.
Hello.
Hi, can you
my
please
name is
introduce
Dale.
yourself?
My name is Dale Grant. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, Dale. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
I just want to add my comments, and I'll be very brief because everybody has something valuable to say. I want to give time to everybody. I do appreciate all the work that's been done. I'm thrilled to see this moving forward, and I think it's key to the environment in general and in the Hamptons, East Hampton in particular. So I support this. I wanted to voice my support. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your interest. Okay, move on.
Yes, Chair. Moving on to the next caller. Last four digits are 5474. Unmuting now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, hello. My name is Mariah Dignan. I am the Long Island organizer for Climate Jobs New York, and I want to thank the trustees for all of their hard work and for allowing me the opportunity to speak today. Climate Jobs New York, we're a growing coalition of labor unions united to combat climate change and reverse inequality. We are educating our fellow workers, building alliances, and advocating for policy solutions, demonstrating that we do not have to choose between a healthy planet and good jobs. I support the joint proposal and easement agreements between Orsted and Eversource and the town of East Hampton. The Beach Lane Cable Route mitigates community and environmental impacts as demonstrated in numerous field surveys, samplings, and studies both on land and in water. This route and related infrastructure upgrades will increase the resilience of our transmission infrastructure and inject clean, renewable energy into our grid. This is the clear option to responsibly develop offshore wind energy while creating good union jobs. The South Fork Wind Project is crucial in serving a local demand for energy. It is also New York's inaugural offshore wind project and sets the stage for offshore wind development in the state. I urge the town trustees and board members to pass a resolution formally adopting the joint proposal and easement agreements, and thank you again for your time and efforts for the past few years in this project.
Thank you so much.
Maya.
Okay. Are there more callers?
Yes, moving on to the next caller right now. Last four digits are 4956. Unmuting now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, this is Alice Tepper Marlin. I'm a longtime resident of the Springs and admirers of many of you graciously serving as our trustees. I'm calling to congratulate you on your stellar role eliciting enlightened provisions to protect our precious East End waterways, to get commitment for important marine studies, to create jobs, and to boost our community benefits package to nearly $30 million. I strongly support your agreement, and I thank you. Unfortunately, your excellent work is endangered by the foolhardy campaign to separately incorporate Wainscott. Timing is of the essence. Should that ill-intended campaign succeed, the effects could well be dire, making null some or all of these provisions. Worse, it would delay the date when the wind power comes online, undercutting our contributions to slowing climate change. That's sea rise, acidification, and more frequent and severe storms. And it would make the construction phase inconvenient to far more thousands of our citizens and to many local businesses if an alternate route were to be decided. Therefore, in addition to supporting your provision, I just want to say that I think it's of the utmost importance that the trustees rapidly resolve to sign this agreement, filling in the one blank left in the agreement. And then you can move on to the far happier job of thinking of the wonderful things that you can do to advance our transformation to renewables. Examples like putting electric charging stations at our beaches and docks, and many other things you trustees and the town can do together to help this community meet its enlightened commitment to be all renewable in terms of our energy by 2030. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Moving on to the next caller. Last four digits 0368. I'm unmuting now.
Hello, caller.
Hello, my name is Sarah Richardson, and I live in Lower Manhattan. I thank the trustees for their work and for the opportunity to speak tonight. During Superstorm Sandy, hundreds of thousands of us across the region lost power and sustained terrible damages to our communities. When my apartment building went dark, I walked down 14 flights of stairs with my 5-year-old trying not to show how frightened I was. We know that continued burning of fossil fuels will lead to stronger and more intense storms like Sandy. For that reason, I encourage the town trustees to support these agreements and move us all, the entire region, toward renewable energy, which we know we must do to ensure a safe climate. Thank you.
So much.
Moving on, Chair, to the
Next
next
caller.
caller. Yes, sir. Last four digits are 6525. Unmuting right now.
Hello, caller. Hello.
Hello, caller. Last four digits 6525. Are you there? Hearing nothing, Chair, I'll move on to the next caller.
Thank you.
Next caller's last four digits are 0412. I'm unmuting their line now.
Hello, caller.
Hello, caller. Last
Hello.
four digits 0412. Are you there? Hearing nothing, Chair, I'll move on to the next caller. Next caller's last four digits are 1378. Unmuting right now.
Hello, caller.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. How are you? Please state your
Okay,
name.
terrific. Hi. Yes, my name is Adrienne Esposito. I'm the Executive Director of Citizens Campaign for the Environment. Citizens Campaign for the Environment is one of New York State's largest grassroots environmental and public health protection organization, and we have thousands of members in the town of East Hampton. I'm calling to say a couple of things. One is I do want to give you a heartfelt thank you and congratulations on all of the work and effort you put in. We know this was not easy for you guys. We know you put a lot of time, a lot of thought, a lot of research, and a lot of compromising went into the work product that is before you today. And thank you for that. I'm urging you on behalf of our membership to sign the agreement. This is a giant leap forward. Electricity is not a luxury item in today's society. It's a necessity. And we have a moral and ethical obligation to achieve the goal of increasing electricity without destroying the planet. And you have the answer to that goal, by signing the dotted line. And although East Hampton might be the first town that has to go through this process, you are not going to be the last town. You are paving the way for the rest of New York State to achieve our goal of being carbon neutral by 2050. And the last thing I just want to say is some people seem to believe that it's either, a wind farm or do nothing. But let us remember how we got into this situation, which is that there is an increased demand for electricity on the South Fork. So it's actually a wind farm or a fossil fuel power plant. So if you think citing a cable connection has been controversial and difficult, can you only imagine how difficult it would be to cite a fossil fuel power plant? So again, we're urging you to sign the agreement. We thank you on behalf of our members for all of your efforts, and we wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Can we have the next caller, please?
Yes, Chair. The last 4 digits are 9455. Unmuting right now.
Hello, caller. Hello.
That 245?
Yes, you're breaking up a little bit. Hello?
Yes, hi. Good evening. My name is Laura Higgins.
Laura, how are you?
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Nora Higgins, actually. I am a
Nora.
regional coordinator. Nora, yes. I'm a regional coordinator for New York State Public Employees Federation. I represent members from Environmental Conservation, and I'm also a member of the Long Island Federation of Labor. And I'm excited and proud that Long Island in your area is leading the way in making our world a better place to live in. And I'm excited also for the diversity in jobs and the changes of people's roles that will be taking place as we transition from the fossil fuel industry to, again, ways in which we can preserve Mother Earth and keep ourselves healthy in the process as well. Also a nurse over at Stony Brook Hospital, so I want to see my patients being cared for well by the new changes that are coming about. And thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Next
Moving
caller,
on.
please.
Yes, sir. Moving on to the next caller. Last 4 digits are 1258. Unmuting now.
Hello,
Hello,
caller.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hi,
please introduce
my name
yourself.
is Genevieve. Hi, my name is Genevieve Gunther, and I am the founder and director of an organization called End Climate Silence. I'm a resident of East Hampton Village, and I am the mother of a boy who's going to turn 11 tomorrow morning. And as his mother, above all, I'd like to thank the trustees for all their hard work and patience in moving this wind farm to completion. I want to reiterate that we need to decarbonize our entire electrical system by 2035 and then use this decarbonized electricity to electrify our transportation, our agriculture, and other industrial systems if my son and all the children on Long Island and across the world are going to have a chance for a livable future. We have to do this right now. We don't get another chance. We can't undo it if we get it wrong. So it seems like a lot of local politics here, but what you're really doing is leading all of us to a sustainable, livable planet that we can leave to our children, especially on this beautiful coast on the east end of the United States. So thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Moving on to the
next caller, please.
Last 4 digits, 5502. Unmuting now.
Hello, caller.
Good evening. This is Jerry Mulligan. I'm a resident on Hands Creek Road in East Hampton. First of all, I'd like to thank the trustees. You guys are very involved and have been public servants for many years. I had the enviable privilege to participate in the Article 7 hearings, attending the confidential settlements, and I saw the trustees in action, protecting the water table, the piping plover, and dealing with all the issues that came up during those confidential settlement hearings. I think the trustees represented themselves well. I think they had good counsel with them, and I think you did a good job. So thank you for that. Climate change is here, and fossil fuels are a big contributor. Global warming, coastal erosion, the South Fork wind farm solves these problems. And I am very concerned that if we don't get these agreements executed, that Ørsted could take the option of going to Hither Hills, in which case the significant payment pursuant to the host community agreement would be in jeopardy and could be dramatically changed or reduced to zero. So I am strongly encouraging you to come to an agreement with the town board. We're all on the same team. There's 9 trustees and 5 board members, but the benefits of those funds is for the constituents who live on the east end of Long Island. I'm sure the money will be well spent by the trustees, and I'm sure the money will be well spent by the town. My concern is if we don't get these done right away, we have the looming issue of the incorporation of Wainscott, which could throw a monkey wrench into this, and we certainly don't need any more problems. So I think, you guys do important work. I think the town is doing a good job, and I think that we're all on the same team. We should come to a prompt agreement on the allocation of funds. And then I think we should get these documents signed. We should record the lease. We should record the easement and let Ørsted get started. Thank you very much. Good evening.
Thank you, Jerry. Have a good evening. Next caller, please.
Moving on to the next caller. Last 4 digits are 2333. Unmuting now.
Hi.
Hello, caller.
Mike Mahoney. I'm from Wainscott. Hi.
Hello, Mike.
My name is Mike Mahoney. I'm from Wainscott. And
yes.
I will endorse and state to you the same admiration and gratitude I have for all of you in the Board of Trustees and what you do for us, especially in preserving our beaches. I have also heard repeatedly how wonderful from all these other people this wind farm is. Now, the idea of the wind farm is to reduce CO2 emissions. And this wind farm out here off of Montauk, the cable being landed somewhere, is not going to reduce any CO2 emissions. And where I get my information from is I ask PSE&G and LIPA how many fossil fuel plants will they be shutting down? What will be the net savings in CO2? And both of them responded to me that they're not shutting down any of the fossil burning power plants. So we will continue to have the CO2 emissions from those, but in addition to that, we're going to have all the CO2s from all of the equipment that's used to install this project, both on land and offshore. So we'll have a net increase. Now, I hope and pray that you'll do this. Don't take my word for it. Please check with PSE&G and LIPA yourselves and find out. In addition to that, I sent you an email today, and Arlene was kind enough to forward it to all of you. And when you have a chance, please read it. This wind farm is also going to contribute to global warming. It's not going to reduce global warming. Reduction of CO2 is a wonderful thing to do, but this wind farm is going to increase it. I strongly oppose you signing away on this, any easements, until at least after the Article 7 is approved. Whether you do it now or afterwards is not going to make any difference, no matter how much pressure you get from all these other activists that want it, and from Ørsted Eversource, who, by the way, doesn't have a good track record. Eversource in Connecticut has got all kinds of problems, and Ørsted overseas is being sued by every country out there. France has now started up coal-burning plants. Another country, Netherlands, is relying on nuclear power because the wind power isn't working for them. You should check it out. You guys are not the town board. You're the trustees. You're there to protect our beach and our environment, and I greatly appreciate that. But don't sign off on this agreement. It's the wrong thing. If the longer you wait, the better you're going to be able to negotiate. Ørsted Eversource is paying significantly more money in a benefit program for the Sunrise Wind Farm, which is being passed on to all ratepayers throughout the state of New York. Southwark Wind Farm is only being passed on to the ratepayers of Suffolk County. Ørsted Eversource is paying significantly more money to the state of Connecticut for redoing their pier that they're going to use as a launching pad. You guys are getting cheated. If you sign this, you're cheating us if you sign this. Wait. Let more information come out as it will come out through the Article 7 process. And I do thank you for letting me state this to you, but totally believe me when I tell you, from the bottom of my heart, I have nothing but respect for you. I am for green energy. I'm not against it. I want to reduce our CO2 emissions. I want to preserve our environment as much as possible. This project is not going to accomplish any of those. It's going to cost every ratepayer the most cost for any electricity. In addition to that, PSE&G and LIPA still are going to have the same problem. They can't transmit the power out to the east end. The infrastructure is old and outdated, needs to be upgraded. And they made some minor improvements, or in the process of doing it. But they need major improvement. This is a Band-Aid that's only going to last 2 years. You're going to be putting on us, the ratepayers, an exorbitant cost for electricity, and then it's going to be doubled again when we deal with paying for PSE&G and LIPA's lack of taking care of this transmission lackability or poor infrastructure that we have. I thank you for listening to me. Wish you all the best and have a happy and safe New Year. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Have a good evening.
Moving on to the next caller. Last four digits.
Thank you.
0557. Unmuting right now.
Hi, this is Judith Hope. I'm a former town supervisor in East Hampton. So
Hi, Judith. How are you?
completely understand and appreciate. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah.
I did.
We can hear you, Judith.
Hello? Okay.
Hello.
I just want to tell you, I very much appreciate where you are at now. You're in a hot seat in a sense of the word, particularly if you listen to the last caller. I think you're in a remarkable position because you're in one of those rare positions where you can take an action that will live long, long beyond your endurance on this planet. You are in the rare position of having the opportunity to affect the well-being of your town, of your state, and of the atmosphere that we breathe, all of us. It is an extraordinary opportunity, and I'm deeply appreciative of all the care that you've taken in drafting the documents that you contemplate tonight. I think you've gone well beyond what was necessary to guarantee the protections of the beach. I greatly applaud the attention to detail, all the hours that you've put into this effort. I'm troubled by the fact that the agreement with the developer does not include any amount of division of the community benefit between the town and the trustees. I realize that this has been a point of negotiations ongoing. I urge you to set aside whatever differences that have arisen over this process, and to keep in mind your responsibility here, and to please try to resolve your differences and resolve the issue of how this money will be divided so that this project can move forward, these documents can be signed, and you can take a really important step that we all are holding our breath and hoping for. Again, I thank you for your public service. I know it's not easy, and God bless you all. Thanks. Good night.
Thank you, Judith.
Moving on to the next caller. Last 4 digits, 3099. Unmuting right now.
Okay.
Hi, this is Bonnie Brady calling from Long
Hey,
Island
Bonnie.
Commercial Fishing Association. Hi, Francis. Hi, Francis. How are you?
Good, and you?
I'm well, thank you. I just wanted to, gosh, we've been involved for so long on this process now, and I know all of you have been involved in the Article 7. I guess the only request that we have is for you all to wait through the Article 7 hearing process before you make a decision. The reason I say so is because to date, there is not an effective fisheries mitigation plan. There is not an effective or fisheries scientific program that takes real in situ readings for the EMF. There is not an effective program for compensation for lost gear and or for survey work and what happens to fishermen when they aren't allowed to fish in their areas. You all have hundreds of years of history behind you, obviously, with the baymen. The baymen that mostly fish in state waters are not being protected at this moment. And in addition, for those that are unaware, nameplate capacity for an offshore wind farm is not the same. A nameplate for an offshore wind farm is not the same as capacity. The actual amount of energy that might, on a good year, be given is about 35% of what the South Fork wind farm at 130 megawatts says it's going to be. And according to the Brattle report, which was paid for by LIPA, we don't need any new energy on Long Island until 2030, 2035. In addition, any power that hits the grid will require gas 24/7 as not only backup, but additionally to modulate the equilibrium of the grid. I understand all of those that have called in stating they want a better future for their children, as do those residents that work within the fishing industry, and we do not want to see the ocean sullied because of a quick, let's get rich from a foreign government-owned energy company scheme that will ultimately affect ratepayers by a rate of 4 to 6 times through the transmission grid costs of what normal energy is on the East End. I don't want to take up that much time. I really appreciate all of the work you have done to date. However, I would really appreciate it if you would take the time to let the Article 7 process go through in its entirety before making a decision. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Bonnie. Okay, next caller, please.
Moving on, the next caller's last 4 digits are 4586. Unmuting now.
Hello,
Good
caller.
evening. Thank you for providing me the opportunity for a brief moment and share my comments about the importance of the South Fork Wind Project. My name is Matthew Arasich, and I am the president of the Building and Construction Trades Council of Nassau and Suffolk counties. I represent 65,000 skilled tradesmen and tradeswomen on Long Island. I've gone on the record by supporting Ørsted Eversource project from the very beginning. I grew up on Long Island in Bayshore. I previously held a commercial food fishing license. I was a commercial diver, rebuilding Amtrak train trestle bridges, and I worked as a heavy equipment operator in a ship repair facility. Today, this is the first salvo in fighting the drastic offense of climate change that will transform the way Long Island gets its energy. In order to achieve the goals of a cleaner environment set by New York State, We must also include the support of upgrades for the infrastructure to ensure that transmitting the power through this process is reliable. This is why I rise in support of the joint proposal and easement agreement submitted to the town of East Hampton. Every day we delay is another day lost. It is clear that the plans and safeguards are in place by simply reviewing the information resulting from the surveys conducted on both land and offshore. By simply moving forward with the provisions that were designed to be safe and effective, Orsted has assessed their impact on the environment and the community. So I ask you, is having safety, clean energy, and a community benefits program that generates nearly $1 million per year for the next 25 years good for East Hampton? Indeed it is, and that's why I urge the trustees to embrace this method of energy and formally adopt the joint proposal and easement standards. Respectfully, Matthew Arasich. I want to also make a comment, which is I understand everybody's hesitance, and I understand everybody's, pessimism. I will tell you that I've been involved in the industry for power for the better half of 30 years. I am a union member for 35 years. I am also a third-generation heat and frost insulator, spanning 100 years. My primary goal, along with my father and grandfather, was to provide energy for Long Island and for New York, and to go ahead and reduce the emissions, working on resiliency, efficiency, all these things about green energy. We did green energy before it was called green, and that's why it's so important. We've had conversations with everybody, and I will tell you that speaking from a perspective of where I am, there are not many people that get a chance to go down to the White House and do a presentation for energy efficiency. And if you have a 5-minute meeting in the White House, that's tremendous. I had an hour. After 30 minutes, they said, well, you got what you said after the first 10 minutes. And we listened for another 20, make sure you won't feel crap. And where do we go from here? And we developed a plan for the GSA. So speaking from a perspective of knowing what I'm talking about, this is actually one of the best opportunities East Hampton has. You could take those words as gospel, and the reason is every one of those things I just said is verifiable. I urge everybody to go ahead and take a look at this and say, listen, we need to move forward. We need to be green. And quite frankly, it's the best alternative for your sons, your grandsons, and your great-grandsons to come. Because if we don't start doing the things we're supposed to do, we'll never get ahead in life, and they won't have a life. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you.
Okay, next caller.
Moving on, the next caller's last 4 digits are 0396. Unmuting now.
Hello, caller.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Good evening, trustees. This is Jill Camp from the Surfrider Foundation's Eastern Long Island chapter.
Hi, Jill.
Speaking tonight on... Hi, how are you? So I'm currently the chapter coordinator for the Eastern Long Island chapter, and our foundation is dedicated to the protection and enjoyment of the world's oceans, waves, and beaches for all people through a powerful activist network. As an employee of Surfrider Foundation's Eastern Long Island chapter, I have a front row seat to climate change and other serious environmental issues pressing our community, such as water quality. I also get to tackle beach access issues with my team, plastic pollution on our beaches, and so much more. I get to work with students and tons of volunteers. On a personal note, my work with Surfrider Foundation has opened my eyes to the urgency needed to be placed on our environmental issues. And I can assure you, climate change does not care about summer in the Hamptons or if a few off-season months of construction noise to install the South Fork wind cable is bothersome. Sourcing renewable energy at the least cost to our environment with public input to identify and vet appropriate mitigation strategies is paramount. And our organization thanks you for upholding this. Our organization is still gathering information. We're reading and reviewing the environmental report and listening to our community at meetings. Personally, as a 5th-generation resident, my family all works locally here in the trades, and the not-in-my-backyard approach around the landing site for the cable has been disheartening. As a homeowner here in East Hampton, Beach Lane, Wainscott happens to be one of my favorite beaches. With the potential incorporation of Wainscott Village, I would feel an immense sense of loss should I lose parking access to Beach Lane. There does not seem to be any long-term impact to public access during installation of the cable and recreational use of the beach at Beach Lane during construction, and public access will only be very minimally impacted by the narrowing of the road to car traffic during winter months of installation only. The trustees must make it clear that there must be access upheld for all the Wainscott beaches. The trustees cannot stand on the sidelines as this exclusive enclave is contemplated. We're asking the trustees to make it clear that there must be access for all to the Wainscott beaches. As a society, we need to pivot to renewable energies. This is our chance to blaze a trail and be environmental innovators. And on behalf of Surfrider Foundation's Eastern Long Island chapter, we thank the trustees for their hard work and due diligence on this project. This cannot happen at the expense of beach access at Beach Lane or Town Lane in Wainscott for the public, and Surfrider Foundation does oppose any losses to access at these beaches. Generally speaking, the outcome of this project is a positive for the environment and the oceans, and it decreases our continued reliance on the burning of coal and oil that furthers climate change. Our team at Surfrider Foundation wants to thank the trustees again for the due diligence with project review and the South Fork Wind Farm project. We support you. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Next caller, please.
Moving on to the next caller. Last four digits are 9154. Unmuting right now.
Hello, caller. Hello.
Hello, caller. Last
Thank you very much for.
It sounds like
Thank you very much for hosting. Yes. Hello, Francis. How are you?
Good, and you?
Very well, thank you. Thank you very much for hosting tonight. I know you guys have been given a lot more than you've signed up for. It's a big job, and I think you've done a tremendous job. I don't think the question is really about whether or not we should go onto renewable energy. I think it's pretty safe to say that everyone agrees that we should move away from fossil fuels as quickly as possible. I just have one simple question for the trustees, and please tell me if you do know the answer to this question. And that is, do any of the trustees here tonight know the full capacity of the South Fork Wind Farm as expressed in the amendment to the Power Purchase Agreement for expanded capacity that was executed only 3 months ago? That was a question.
Francis, it's up to you whether you choose to answer questions. Generally, at comment sessions like this, the board listens, doesn't engage in debate in conversation. So it's always up to the chair or the members of the board whether they wish to answer questions. But usually, to keep things moving, you just listen to comments. So it's your call, Francis.
Yeah, we opened up this evening to take comments, not to get into debate. So, Simon, if you would just continue, I'd appreciate it.
That's okay. I'll assume that none of the trustees do know the answer to that question because it hasn't been disclosed publicly. No town board member knows the answer to that question. LIPA confirmed in January 2018 in a press release that it had entered into an agreement, but that was not true. It didn't enter into an agreement until September 2020, 30th of September, only 3 months ago. And no one has been told what the final capacity of the wind farm is, nor have they been told what the final price that ratepayers will have to pay. So my advice to the trustees is this: is before you make a decision, find out how big this wind farm is going to be, because it underpins all the calculations, all the effects on the beach, the EMF effects on the near shore and the far shore fisheries. It underpins everything. And without knowing the basic questions, I think it would be negligent for any organisation to enter into an agreement. Thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate all your efforts.
Thank you, Si. Next caller, please.
Mr. Chairman, there are no new callers, but there is a number, actually 2 numbers still waiting, who when I went to last time didn't speak. Do you want me to circle back?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to try again. Phone number ending 6525, unmuting now.
Hello, caller. Do you wish to make a comment?
Hello, caller, last 4 digits 6525. Hearing nothing, Chair, I'll move on. There's one other caller, same scenario, last 4 digits 0412. I'll unmute that caller now.
Hello, caller. Hello.
Hearing nothing, Chair, they could just be listening in. I'll mute that, and there are currently no new callers on the line who haven't spoken.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much. All right. So do we want to leave the lines open for a while, guys, or do we want to close this? We can leave ourselves open for written comment.
I think we should leave the lines open, move on with the rest of the meeting, and we can step away. We don't have anything on the agenda here that we can't walk away from and come back to.
May I make a comment before we move on to our agenda? I just would like to offer to people who are watching this evening, if you'd like to tune in to a webinar that was provided this past week. It answers a lot of questions that people have. I did post it on our trustees Facebook page. I've submitted it for our website, and it's in layperson's terms, so I think it was very helpful. It's sponsored by Citizens Campaign for the Environment. That's Adrian Esposito, Group for the East End, RELI, which is Gordy and Racky, Win with Wind, and also it was sponsored by New York LCVEF, which is Educating for the Environment, and it was a really wonderful program. It's on YouTube, and I will send out that link again to everybody for you to see it if you wish, and also for the public, it's on YouTube, and I will post that to our, I'll repost it up on our Facebook page, as well as just make sure it's there for our website. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Susan. Anybody else have anything? All right. Could be a very short meeting. Move on to administrative payment of the bills. We have Optimum, $136.76. East Hampton Star, $70.45. John Vila, shrink wrap the pump out boat, $350. Do I have a motion to pay the bills?
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, we don't have any minutes to approve this month. Financial reports for the month ended November 30th, 2020. Anybody get a chance to review?
Francis, I took a look at them, and they do appear to be in order, period over period. The numbers are within a reasonable range, and we have some departments where the expenses are a little higher than they were year over year, but it all seems to be in line with our proceedings. So I'd make a motion to approve them for November of 2020.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, and we also have December 31st, 2020. Anybody have a chance? Okay. And do I have a motion to table those?
Motion to table.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Let's see. I guess we could, do we have anything to report on staggering the election?
Yes,
Wanna talk
Susan.
about that?
Yeah, Susan and I met with Chris Carrillo the other day, and
And Bill.
And who?
Bill.
Bill who? Bill, were you there?
It's by telephone, yes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So anyway, we met the other day, and I think we all kind of came to the same conclusion. The last time we talked about this.
I can clean them for you.
What's that?
Arlene, would you mute yourself?
Sorry, I got to mute myself.
Yeah, please. Anyway, the last time we talked about this at one of our general meetings, we had thrown around the idea of how we could take, 3 members of the board and alternate the years that they run. And the difficulty in that is it just took the first run at this and spread it out over too much time. So we all kind of came to the same conclusion that the easiest and probably the most effective way to do this would be to basically, and we had discussed this prior to this, take the top 4 vote getters, let's say, at the next general election, and those vote getters would get a 4-year term. 2 years from that, the remaining 5 trustees would be running for a 4-year term. And in that way, we would have staggered our terms, and it would be uneven as far as the number of individuals. But what we would still be doing is we'd be fitting sort of our voting schedule within the normal election year setup. Otherwise, we were going to be having these odd year elections. And the question now becomes, who do we hire to execute that? Chris has done some research for some other firms. We're going to go through a process very similar to what we did when we hired Dan and Miller. And that is, we are going to have a interview process here in the next week or so. And the hopes is to get back to the board from the committee by the meeting on the 25th, a recommendation for council and some understanding of what the process is that we're going to need to go through. Did I forget anything, Susan, other than Bill?
No, I think that kind of sums it up. And I think, Chris, if you have those names of other candidates to interview, are you going to make an appointment with them and talk to them? We had discussed Chris reaching out to speak to the first attorney that I had brought in to discuss. But are you going to speak to them, Chris, or have you already?
I actually spoke with a different group, Greenberg Traurig out of Albany. I'm not sure if that rings a bell to Dan at all, but I did have the opportunity to speak with several attorneys from this group. Again, it's Greenberg Traurig. They had just asked that I shoot them over the Dongan patent actually for review. I think they were pretty intrigued by the patent. They're going to take a skim over that, and we're interested in meeting with us over the phone with our committee sometime this week. But I did have a nice quick convo with them over the weekend. They seem to think there might be some other avenues to achieve our goals other than by referendum, and we might need to go through what the other options are under state law and otherwise, but we can save that for committee level. And I will have a conversation with your group as well. And I think, again, the goal should be the committee is going to meet with at least these 2 groups at some point this week, and then get back to the board by the next meeting. So.
Excellent.
Yeah,
okay. Chris, would you send the committee the name of the firm again? I got Greenberg, but I didn't hear the rest of it.
Sure. I'll send it to you, but it's Traurig, Traurig, Greenberg Traurig.
TRAU. Sorry?
They really are a very good firm.
Okay. Well, coming from you, Dan, then that's another point, right?
And then Jim, you did a nice job of explaining it. I just think that you might have only said it once, which might not given time to soak into the rest of the trustees. So I'll just say it once again. We kind of all came to the same conclusion through different ways that basically the first term would have either 4 or 5. I think we said 4 of the trustees would get 4 years. The remaining 5 would only get 2 years on that first term. And then at that point, 2 years later, would begin the 4 years election. So it would only mean that one group of 5 individuals get the short 2-year term, at which point after that, it allows for a staggered term where every 2 years, either 4 or 5 trustees are up for election, and that maintains that that every election cycle every 2 years. So just wanted to say it again. Jim did a nice job, but I know it's kind of, sometimes you got to put it on paper or hear it a couple times to understand it.
Maybe you could send that out to all of us again in writing. That would be great.
Happy
So we
to.
have a form, but okay. Bill, you want to say something about the staggered terms?
Well, I mean, we covered every possibility, and we have, just certain facts. There are 9 trustees. The normal election cycle for town elections is 2 years. And in order to stagger it for 3, 3, and 3, you'd wind up with 6-year terms, which seems too long. And we've examined the possibilities pretty thoroughly, and the 5 and 4 seems to be feasible.
I will add one more thing. I think while we have our Dan Spitzer on the line, Dan, while we have you, maybe if we want at the committee level, or if you want to think about it for a couple of days, but if you had a colleague or a group that you thought might want to send our way as well, I think the magic number was 3 when we went and hired you. But if you knew anybody through your network that's kind of politically oriented that might be the right group for the job to help us through this election cycle situation, then we'd be all ears to your recommendations as well.
Be happy to talk to you, Chris. I'll give you a call tomorrow. We've done a lot of this. This comes up all the time with municipalities who are looking to either change their terms of office from 2 years to 4 years, which goes through a referendum process, or school boards that are changing the length of their terms. They're governed by municipal law, which lays out the procedure for how you do referendums. You're governed by the unincorporated associations law of the state of New York, plus the special laws that go to you, although none of those laws really go to your organization, really. So it's an interesting corporate question. Be happy to talk to you and put you in touch with somebody in my group if you want someone in my group to review whatever this folks you come up with figure out. But it's not uncommon. And the approach you took is very common with communities that are changing planning boards or creating new planning boards, where they'll literally draw. Sometimes if it's a brand new board, they'll literally draw straws between the 7 people they appoint to the board, and that'll determine the length, the first terms and who gets times. Here, you're doing the most important thing, which is that you're not reducing the term of any elected official, because you're making it, as I understood it, you're making it apply going forward. So nobody would have the elected term reduced. It would just affect the potential longer term afterward. So this is the kind of thing that, there's a governance procedure that you're going through, but it sounds to me like you've laid it out exactly how it should work.
Thanks, Dan. As the board, we've all been very happy with your representation thus far, and maybe there's somebody in your group that we'd like to talk to. So we look forward to hearing it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, let's move on. How about an update on the pump out boat? Anything, Jim?
Yeah, as some of you may recall, or hopefully all of you recall, we originally got a quote on refurbishing the existing pump out boat on October 14th, which was $44,000. Subsequent to that, we got an updated proposal on October 19th, which basically backed out the repowering aspect of this out of the proposal. So essentially, on the October 19th proposal, we had a $29,000 budget for basically the refitting of this boat. I went up a month or so ago and met with the folks over there where the work's being done at Marine Boat Builders, and they have a really nice operation there. Rich Audette was very helpful, and we went through our boat. I took multiple pictures of the different parts of the boat, and quite honestly, the original budget, to be honest with you, I feel is going to take care of most of the sort of structural issues related to the boat. And we're going to get back a boat that looks better, but certainly doesn't look new. So I started the discussion of what are the other things could be done while you have the boat in there to basically bring it up to as close to new status. They're going to have to strip the lettering and stuff off the boat anyway. When we crawled underneath this thing, it's got some wear on the keel. It's got a crack in the transom. It's got what do you call a radio box that's not in great shape. The T-top needs some work. We started his original proposal, basically called for, putting in a new bumper system. But, part of putting that new bumper system is basically taking out the stuff that our guys had put in. And you got all of these holes and blemishes in the finish. And when we started talking about it, the reality is it's pretty easy to pull the deck off that boat and drop a new deck, which is basically a monolithic pour. It's easier to do that than screw around with the incidentals here. And essentially, that's where the December 10th proposal came of 68.5. But when you actually evaluate this proposal, the additional costs are just under $15,000. Question for you guys, there's a couple paths we can take. We can take and go the route of the $29,000 refit that we have a number on. We can add the repowering, which we already discussed and committed to. When we originally pulled this out of the proposal, it was a case where this boatyard did not have a license to sell Yamahas on a retrofit. They could sell it as part of a new boat. They couldn't sell it as a retrofit. I kind of questioned that the day I was over there and said, you mean you can't buy at a discount a motor for this boat from another supplier and put it in on the boat and get Yamaha to sign off on it? They checked into that. Yes, they can. And to me, it would make a lot more sense to have the person that's doing the other work on this boat do the repower, because then you don't get into these redundancies of cost in terms of running new cables, lines, and all that stuff, and having some finger pointing from one boatyard to the other that they didn't like the way the other guy did it. So we got a choice here. We can stick with the 29,000 plus the 24, which is really 44,000. Or we can go with the 68,000. We could lower that 68,000, guys, by about $5,000, between $5,000 and $6,000, if we decide we don't need yet another new trailer, which I'm going to be honest, I don't really see where we need a trailer for every boat we have. Or a third option would be to trade our boat in and buy another new boat. So another new boat, from the previous proposals, is $105,500. Okay, you back the trailer out of that. That's $5,500 that you can back out of that cost. What's the feeling of this board? By the way, guys, Rich got me some changes. I had meant to send it to all of you before the weekend. I spent the weekend hunting, so I didn't get a chance to send it out. I have sent it to everybody on the board. So you do have it at this point.
Jim, what's the trade-in value?
Trade-in value is probably no more than about 15 grand.
Jim,
15 grand?
Yeah.
Wow.
Jim, the 68.5 for the updated quote, that includes that Yamaha you're talking about?
That includes the Yamaha, that includes all of the labor work to install that engine. It includes a trailer, and it includes basically the removal of that deck that's on there to removal of the existing deck, put a new deck on it, which honestly, what that does is it takes out of this discussion all of the language about popping old cleats off. It takes out the language about re-gel coating and whatever the existing deck that we have. And in that way, they could basically spend more time on the exterior of the hull itself and do things like, all of the other stuff that we talked about. One of the things that was up there that wasn't on the original quotes was the windshield. I don't know where anybody looked at that. That windshield's all full of little fine micro cracks and stuff. And if you're going to do any other work on it, do things like replace the windshield, replace the cushions on the seat. Right now, the actual evacuation pump on that thing is actually a drift inside the box. Part of both proposals is the replumbing this thing, where the evacuation lines and stuff all come out of the front of that sort of wheelhouse. It's I got to tell you, there's been a lot of changes made to these boats in the years that we've had ours. They've got, they've seen where they could make them better. And this would basically bring, if we spend 68, we end up with a boat that it's going to look pretty much new.
Jim, question, as a layperson with boats, it sounds as though this boat, because I'm reading your email now with the two different proposals, and it seems as though this used boat proposal number 2 would be rebuilding the whole boat.
Basically, yeah. And hey.
So does it make sense to rebuild an old boat? Wait. To me, does it make sense to rebuild an old boat and do everything to it when you could have a new boat that has everything right there? You don't have to go, it's like taking an old car unless it's a classic and remodeling it. Is it worth doing that?
Listen, guys, yes, I'm one of those guys. I like the new plastic smell myself. Okay, so you're not going to have to twist my arm, okay, to buy something new over something used. But you know what? Right now, we got 105,000. You back 15,000 out of it. You're still at 90 grand. You back the cost of a trailer on it. You're at 84.5 versus 63 grand. That's what your out-of-pocket costs are going to be.
Have we looked into getting another grant?
Wait. No, Bill, we haven't yet, because actually Arlene had looked into getting the other grant, which would cover some of our refurbishment costs, which basically would cover what? 35% or up to 45 grand.
I have information for you, Jim. On a new boat, they'll give us up to 65,000 a state.
Okay.
And on an old boat, they'll only give us up to 35,000. So actually that 30,000, I'll let you guys do the math. But on the new boat, we can get 65
guys.
On the refurb 35.
Guys, if we can get another grant, it's basically a wash, correct?
Can we get a grant every year?
I don't know.
I don't think there's any limits on the number. I mean, Block Island has 5 boats. They want us pumping. It isn't sort of, but I can get everyone that answer tomorrow. I don't think there's a limit. Some people have fleets of pump out boats, you know.
How old is the
I
current
asked
boat
her,
that
she
needs to
said
have
that-
all this work?
For 20 years.
Sorry?
It's a 2003 boat, or Susan.
Okay. And typically the life of a boat like this would be, I mean, how many years?
You got me. Mike, how long would we expect something like this to last?
Well, I have boats that are 40 years old and still going, but it's not easy.
You know, if it's a specialized kind of boat, you know, it depends on how much maintenance you put into it.
Right.
Mike got, oh, I'm off here? Oh, sorry.
I'd say 20 years is on a hard used boat is about getting old.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, you know, give me some direction here. I was the one that escalated these costs based on my conversations with the yard. Okay, and you know, when Rich sent me the $68,000 proposal, he did sort of qualify his price with, yeah, it's only like 15 grand or 14,000, whatever, above the price that they already quoted us. But he said it's $14,000 that's putting you very close to where it might make sense to basically trade this thing out and have them build a new boat.
I'd go for the new boat. Me, I'd be pushing for the new boat. That's my vote would be, especially if we can get another grant. It's even cheaper to get a new boat. I can't justify 68,000 on restoring an old 25-foot boat.
Hey, Jim.
Yes.
It's Rick. You know, I kind of agree with Mike's thought process there. You know, either do like a bare bones so we have a backup for this summer because we know it's going to be busy, and get the grant and the paperwork, and then even if it's a little late, try and pull the trigger on a new boat. Or if you can get the new boat going and we can get reimbursed, that's a good option too. But I kind of agree that a bigger investment into that older boat, it's problematic and could continue like that.
Well, if you know, my only comment to that, Rick, would be when you say do what needs to be done, that's $29,000. And if we're doing this with the idea that we're going to get a new boat next year, I don't know whether that's wise economy, because you're going to throw $29,000 into a boat that if we go to trade it next year, we're probably going to get, no, Bill, but you know what? You're going right down the road that I'm looking at is you're not going to get 15 for it. You're going to get 20 for it.
Yeah.
So
there's probably a limited market for used pump out boats.
Well, can I tell you what? I think there's probably a really good market for used pump out boats in a community that, let's say, doesn't have the resources to get at the grant money, or a community that's looking to do just what we started to look to do here, where we were looking to get a backup unit. But I think what this summer taught us is we really aren't buying a backup unit. We're buying another boat that in all likelihood is going to be going to work on a daily basis. It's not
We're going to have two boats running out in Montauk.
Well, this summer we could have. So
what's the turnaround time on both? What's the turnaround time on a rebuild, and how soon can we get a new one?
The rebuild, what we did talk about with our boat is we may end up having our boat may actually even been started already. Their production schedule is essentially turned upside down with the problems of getting some of the components for boats out of the manufacturer. So when I spoke to Rich last week, he was like, I know I told you we wouldn't be starting on your boat for another month, but he said, I think we're going to have to start on yours because I can actually work on yours, where there are so many other orders that I'm on a hold because I'm waiting for materials.
I did ask him that question last time, and he said a rebuild on a boat would be second to the new boat. If we order a new boat, that's what they would build first.
Yeah, but this is, listen, there's probably work being done, refurbishing work and maintenance work being done on these boats in their yard that's independent of this. Keep in mind, we're talking about there's a hull that's being purchased from a manufacturer, which is basically down the road from our guy at Marine Boat Builders. Our boat would be getting refitted at Marine Boat Builders. The new boat, the new hull and stuff would actually be getting shot at another facility, which is right down the road. Guys, if you wanna do or look into the, if you're leaning at all as a group towards a new boat, we can have Arlene explore the option of basically being able to apply for another grant this year. Second to that, if the grant system is going to be in place for next year, it's conceivable that we could actually, pay for this with our own monies if we know we're going to get reimbursed later on. That's the other option here.
I think pursuing that's a great idea if the timeline's reasonable. I just don't want to see us get cut short on having that third resource. But I
don't either. Rick, and I was more sort of committed to fixing up our boat. And even when it was at the 68,000, I was kind of leaning more in that direction. Except the more I thought about it, I found myself daily in this position at exactly the same time of the year with equipment, where you have a piece of equipment that you get a given number of hours on it, and you, before they go into that $20,000 repair job on it, I have to ask the question, what's it worth on the trade? And a lot of times when you ask that question, you also have to ask, well, if I put the 20 grand in the refurbishment, what's it worth then? And typically it's not worth what you're putting into it.
Oh, no, it's not a matter of value, Jim. I totally get that. Yeah. Trust me. But it's just a matter of, if we don't have the resources, are we trying to, fulfill that responsibility to the best of our ability, or, we're trying to get a new boat, and we have two new boats coming together, which, is pretty reliable. So we probably could pull that off.
Yeah. Well,
but I was kind of looking at it just from the resource perspective of staffing the position and handling the workload.
All right. Does anybody else have anything that they want to give us on this?
I think we should look into the possibility of getting a grant and going new.
The only concern I have is if they're begun the work on the old boat.
They have not. They haven't, John, and the reason they haven't started the work on the new boat is we needed to give him direction as soon as possible as to which way we were leaning.
Have you discussed with him the possibility that we may lean towards a new boat at all?
Yeah, we discussed all three possibilities.
It's in an email that Jim sent out to us. I got it today, the 7th, January 7th. It has the proposals for the boats. I'm in favor of buying a new boat, looking into a new grant for this boat, and to selling the boat that we have before we start pouring money into it. I think we're looking at a boat that we want to have longevity. We want something that's reliable, and rather than pouring money into something that's almost 20 years old, we should, I think, buy something that's new and reliable, if we can afford it.
I agree.
Else?
Tim, you were saying something?
I just said I agree with you, Susan, that we'd buy a new boat and look at getting a grant.
Anybody else? Mike, you said earlier.
Yeah, I'm for, as long as we can get the boats on time for our season, that's one key issue. I would like to definitely get that grant to help us out with the second new boat and be pursuing that. If we don't have 2 new boats in time for, let's say, the end of May, I think I'd rather have 1 new boat and 1 half-working backup this summer.
Well, we know what that not half working backup. I mean, what they committed to on the 29,000 was giving us a fully working boat. I'm going to be honest. A lot of the stuff I mentioned is more cosmetic. The only stuff that I'd say was not cosmetic is is they had not crawled underneath this thing and looked at the keel, and where you're through the gel coat on the keel, you got some fur sticking out in that. So, to basically refurbish that, you're going to have to strip that old bottom paint. You're going to have to sand that bottom down. You're going to have to do some fiberglass work on it.
Do we end up selling the boat, the trustees or the town? I mean, we own the boat, so who?
We own the boat. We own the boat, Susan. If we trade the boat in, they will give us what we discussed, which was between $14,000 and $15,000.
Okay, so
for that boat, we could treat this like a used car, Susan, and we could say we're going to try and sell it on our own. I'm going to be honest. I don't have the patience for that.
I only bring it up because you mentioned a town that may not be able to afford a pump out boat. So I thought maybe we were supposed to sell it, but if it's like a car, you trade it in. That's
well, you know what? Easier. These guys manufacture them. They have, basically what Rich said. We would give you 14 grand or 15 grand for that boat. We would put what we thought we needed to put into it to get our best return on that boat. And we would sell it. What would they sell it for? It's a capitalist system. They're going to sell it for a lot more than 15 grand.
Probably going to be a $50,000 item.
But, they have the ability to discount to themselves their parts, discount to themselves their labor, and call that a margin later on. I don't begrudge anybody for that. I mean, we could get more out of this boat if we decided that we wanted to market it ourselves. But, my experience with boats, they're a little like owning a horse. They're never worth more than when you're buying one, and they're never worth less than when you're trying to sell it. So I think this season was a unique situation.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so should everyone review your proposals and then come back in a couple of weeks, or are we?
No, I don't want to. Hey guys, I don't want to wait a couple of weeks on this. I'm really talking about come back to me. I'd like to, if we're going to entertain the new boat concept and we think we're serious about it, I'd like to be able to distribute those numbers to you and get a consensus now so that we can, nail whatever we're doing down.
Okay.
So the few questions that we need to have answered is, one, our budget. We have to look closely at that, but also the ability to get a grant on a second boat and the timeline, whether or not the boat will be ready.
Yes. And I can get both of those questions answered. Mike, I have a feeling that doing the new boat may be actually you'll be more able to fast track a new boat than you will be the repair work.
Yeah,
that's I would be expecting that too.
There's incentive to get them.
Well, it's not that. It's just you got guys in a shop that are working in a production situation versus guys that are working in a shop that are doing maintenance and repair work. Okay, when you're on production, you're adding parts all along the way, and you can basically know that it's going to take X number of man hours to do it. When you're doing repair work, it's a completely different animal.
You don't know what you got till you open it up.
Yeah, the good news here is they did a pretty good job of evaluating the condition of that boat. To include, his original proposals called for whether we needed to replace the fuel tank, okay? Because there was an early on assumption that that was either an aluminum tank or it was a fiberglass tank. It's a poly tank. They've got the tank in that boat is what they would replace it with. So,
yeah, a 20-year-old boat is when you start running into stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right,
So
we can get.
Listen, guys, look over what I sent you there tonight. If you have any comments, feel free to either email me or give me a call. I'll speak. Arlene, you're listening in on this. If you can look into the possibility of another grant, I will contact them tomorrow and get them to give us a hard number on a trade-in and what our bottom line costs are going to be on that. And hopefully we can bring this discussion to a conclusion. But at this point, what I am going to take away from the conversation we've had is that the $68,000 expense is off the table. We're either spending 29 and keeping the motor that we have on there, or we're buying a new boat. Am I correct in what I'm perceiving here?
That's good with me.
Yeah.
All right.
Jim, Jim just disappeared. Oh, there you are. Will we have to wait for a grant to come in before we build a boat?
No,
That would take a long time.
Susan, if it's a case where we basically know we're going to get a grant, we do have the ability to certainly come up with the deposit and even perhaps pay for the boat. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking these monies out of our reserves.
How long does it take to obtain a grant?
Well, the last time, Arlene, how long did it take? It wasn't very long.
Few months?
It was actually very quickly. The hardest thing was getting together all the info, which we'll have. So,
Well, you
Jim,
already had, the thing is, we this is a second run. We already have that info.
was it 2 weeks or something?
What's that?
Quick. Was it 2 weeks or something? It was
It
very
wasn't
quick.
very long. It was, as I recall, it was within 2 weeks. We had a commitment on this.
All right.
These are reimbursement grants anyway, so we have to lay the money out.
Okay.
Correct.
All righty. Thank you, Jim.
Well, thank you.
Okay, last thing we have here is there an update on the new trustee website?
Just very quickly, I would like to say Mike is working on it. I'm learning a lot of little details as he goes along. So I'm going to ask you once again, if there's anything that you have that you feel it belongs on our website, the new website, please send it to me and then I will forward it to Mike. What's happened is a couple of things have not been.
Audio, Susan.
I'm sorry? Hello?
Can everybody else hear Susan?
I hear her.
Yeah, I can hear her. Okay. I just, what I'm learning is that certain things that we've been sending him have to be converted because they're not from the original website or original. So if you send them to me and I send things to him, he can get back to me right away and let me know that I need a better resolution or the direct link to a website, that kind of thing. So just keep that in mind. And I'm working very closely with him. Arlene is also posting things on our current website that need to be put up there. And for the newer of us trustees, the website at the town also carries our website. So as soon as Mike has the foundation and everything that he needs on the new one, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised, but send everything to me. And Tim, you have some great ideas. I've submitted those ideas to Mike, about, certain things that we want, and it's a process, but applications, where to go, what to do. But if you have ideas for the website, please, by all means, send them to me and I will get them out rapidly. In the interim, I am using social media to post things that like tonight's meeting, and Jim, you had sent the document out with regard to the South Fork Wind Farm, which I posted that information. So I just wanted to let you know, send everything to me and I'll take care of it.
Okay, what I will want to say about our new website person is last week when I did get the stuff from the Army Corps, I sent it around to everybody here, and I also sent it to Mike and called him and asked him if he could put it up on our website, and literally within an hour, he had a link there.
Nice.
So I will say that we are getting some excellent service, and I appreciate it.
Good, that makes me happy to hear. I just posted something from Friends of Georgia Pond because I'm on their mailing list. And it's Priscilla Bertazzi, who is the chairperson, wrote an article about the septic system, because a lot of people who are new to our environment and communities who have decided to move here full time, they're using their home toilets and things as they think we have waste management systems here as opposed to septic.
Sewer.
So that was it. I just got that posted today, and I think it's very important. It will go on. It's going on the Georgia Pond. I think Arlene, you also, I asked you to post it to Georgia Pond on our old website, our current website. But I think that's very helpful. So if you have time, take a peek at what's going on, and make comments to me. Let me know what you think. And Bill, I did post your pictures of Louse Point up to for social media. I've sent them on to Mike, and I went up today and took a peek, and I guess it's still in progress. I took some more pictures as well.
Yeah, I could send you a few more I took this morning if you want.
Good, sure. Yep. All righty. And Dan, as long as you're right here, and Mila, the other person that we were speaking about at our meeting was Gary Felder. Was that it? Jerry Felder? Francis?
No, that was your friend.
No, I'm saying the other person we spoke to. That I'm just wondering if Dan knows who it is.
Goldfelder.
Struck.
He's with Struck, S-T-R-O-O-K, in Manhattan.
Another outstanding large law firm. So if he's with that firm, he's probably a very good lawyer. I don't know that particular person who you mentioned, but Struck obviously is a very good law firm.
Okay.
Yeah.
His specialty is election law in New York State. He wrote a book and so forth. So just wanted to get your opinion if you know.
I know of the firm and have nothing but good things to say about the firm. It's a real interesting question. I was texting with one of you. I was going whether you're covered by the state election law or whether you're covered by the corporate law. That's kind of the question. But the approach you took to have a referendum is going to be the right approach either way.
Yeah. I think
we have to have a referendum on this, and it would be a vote.
Yeah, it's the town board vote scheduling a referendum. And then it's up to the voters.
So why would it be a town board vote to
the town board resolution scheduling?
Why would it be a town board? They don't govern you.
I like you, Dan, and I like you more every time you speak.
So what worries me about that, Bill, and you may be right. I mean, one of the questions I wrote back to Francis when he texted me was, is there a state law that has said, here's how you will do your elections, which there could have been over the last 400 years. But you don't want the town telling you how to conduct your elections. You simply want to piggyback on the town elections and do everything at the same time and save money and use all their processes. So it's a fair democratic process. But the town doesn't set how you are governed. You may ask the town to conduct a referendum election at your expense, or you can ask the town as part of their election to do a referendum question, since it's the same voters. But
the town doesn't pay for the elections, the county does.
So again, however it works, who's ever paying for it in your particular area, in where most of the state, if you do a separate referendum, you've got to pay for it as a special election. If you do it at the next election, the referendum, then usually you can get it free. We occasionally do that with bonds. We have bonds that go on, and we always prefer to do that at a regular election so that we don't have to pay any extra money. But it depends on how it's set up and how it's done. But what I was concerned about in terms of what you said, Bill, was the town may pass a resolution saying, county, do this as part of our election for our voters. But you want to be careful, no matter what the process is, the town is not dictating your governance structure.
Yeah, that's very
interesting. Whoever you hire will take care of that.
Yeah. Good. You seem to know a lot about this. We already know you.
So I was an auditor of municipalities, a finance director of a city, and I've run our municipal law practice. And altogether, that gives me about 40 years with municipal law in one way or another. So there's a lot of commonality. And what you
have a pretty good
maybe you should be our attorney.
Well, we'll see. I want to figure out what I want to talk to Chris about exactly what the regulations are, but we do have people in our firm who do election law, but both of those firms have outstanding attorneys. The thing is, though, that you're very unique as an organization, and unless the state has come along and said, here's how you shall do your elections, you're basically what's called a business trust, which is under the General Associations law. That's basically a trust agreement, which is what the Dongan patent in effect is. It's a trust agreement, governs how you're regulated. And so you have a lot of leeway as to how you go about doing your governance. And what you laid out, certainly no one can complain about, because you've basically said we're going to be as fully democratic as we are when we do our elections in terms of changing our governance structure. That's exactly the way municipalities do it. When they change the terms of office, they hold elections via referendum. So I don't think anybody can criticize what you three of you laid out as a method forward.
Dan, we had the last election, Suffolk County legislators posed a referendum with the voters in Suffolk County to extend their 2-year term to 4 years, and it was voted down. Yeah. They have different, so they're under a different umbrella legally, Suffolk County legislative branch.
So there's the New York State election law, but then there's town election law, county law, and village law, and school district law, all of which have different rules for elections. You are not any of those entities, but if you do a state election law, if you want the town to run your election or the county to run your election for you, then you've got to comply with state election law. It's an intriguing combination. And again, I defer to Chris whether there was ever a statute where the state legislature said, trustees, here's how you shall do elections.
I know trustees are not listed. We're not covered by part of the state election law. So it's something we got to look into closely.
Yeah, it's, I mean, I think that I'd have a hard time believing that a court would give you a hard time if you took the approach that you laid out. If you had a referendum or whatever methodology you said, and your voters decided how terms are going to be done, who could complain about that? Your voters or your shareholders?
Right. Do you want to recommend someone to us from your firm that you said you have people that do election law? Maybe we should have someone from your firm.
Well, yeah, I'll talk with Dan tomorrow and let's see how it goes.
Yeah, I think that's the best way of handling this.
Yeah.
That's enough.
Okay. Thank you, Dan, very much.
Nice to see you all.
Hi, Mila. I don't see you anywhere here, but I know you're here.
She's there.
There she is.
All right, so
I'm here in spirit, just not on video.
so that's the last piece on our agenda. If anybody has anything else they want to throw in before we go?
The woman from Surfrod made a comment about how they didn't want to lose access to the Wayne Scott Beach should it become a village. And, you know, if Wayne Scott becomes a village, it's not going to affect any beach ownership, especially from Beach Lane West. And I think this Board of Trustees will do everything humanly possible to maintain access for every freeholder and commonality and resident of the town of East Hampton to that beach. I have a couple ideas how we can do it, but I think that the public should be aware that it's my feeling that this board will do everything it can to keep that access open to the public.
Did anyone read the Star's editorial this past week in section 2 about the trustees?
Yes.
We did.
I think, Bill, what the concern is, if I understand it from talking with Francis, is that if the Wainscott people own the street, they would eliminate the parking, or they would limit the same way the town can limit permits to town residents, that the village would limit access to parking there to village residents.
Yeah, but I was thinking perhaps while the town still owns it, we could enter into a long-term lease arrangement with them to provide parking for our beach. Or theoretically, we could open that beach up to four-wheel drive access.
I think you should have your rowdiest rock parties, right, in Wainscott Beach till when the governor's going to legalize pot this year. So if you want to have designated pot zone.
That's not going to make a big difference out here.
Not, of course not. The answer to the question is, again, we're not in executive session, obviously. I don't know if anybody's on the phone, but I think these are good questions to discuss publicly. You could certainly enter into a lease with the town for that road. That would make you responsible, though, for that portion of the roadway, for that parking. Should anybody have an accident or any of those things. So you need to think that through in terms of whether you want to take on that responsibility of owning. You already own a parking lot, I think, that the town runs for you. But you certainly could acquire rights if they preceded the villages, and it's not totally clear that villages actually have rights to town's roads when they take them over. You could theoretically enter into a lease agreement with the town to preserve those parking spaces for residents of the town as opposed to just the village.
There's really no parking lot there, though. It's people there are a few little spaces, but that's it. There's no real parking lot. And is Beach Lane owned by the town or the DOT?
Owned by the town.
By the town, okay.
No, the question I had.
By the town.
Question I had about this is the town board didn't come into existence until, I don't know, what, the 1920s or something like that? Anyway, whatever it was, prior to the town board's existence, the trustees were in effect the town government. Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming they owned all the roads. And then the town board came into existence, and now they own all the roads. But is there any leverage in our prior ownership of the roads, which presumably were common lands at the time?
So the village was incorporated in 1920, but I think the town is actually much older than that as a governmental unit. I think the town as a governmental unit goes back to 1648.
Yeah, but he's talking about the formation of the town board, Dan.
Yeah. But there have been town boards actually since the beginning. I've never heard of a town that didn't have a town board. And that goes back to
this town was governed by the trustees for
well, you're a very unique organization, so that could be the case. However, you'll recall, as part of the things that we received from the folks at Wainscott, there was an order of the town board in 1881 laying out the easement for Beach Lane.
Yeah.
So that came from a town board.
Commissioners of Highway.
It was the highway. Okay. It was the commissioners of highway. I think that's too
interesting. Yeah. I had never heard of a town that didn't have a town board.
Hey Dan, in either case, the roads were conveyed over to the town at some point.
That's correct.
It certainly seems that they were.
But I guess the question is, if they were conveyed over from the trustees, were they conveyed over with the understanding that they were for the use of the residents of the town? And could we then argue that they still, or perhaps if the town conveyed them back to us or a portion of one, that we would have standing to allow all town residents to use that portion of that road?
It depends on what it is that the village did. If all the village did was get rid of the parking or prohibited parking, then they haven't stopped the use of the roadway. Villages have a right on any road that they take over to decide where people can park. They can put in parking meters, all those kind of things. Villages have a right to do that unless there's a specific agreement or specific restriction that was in somewhere within the road's history or in the incorporation agreement that limited the right of a village to do that. A village has control over a road. So whether or not the village could close a road, like for example, from the last house down to the beach, that's a very different question in terms of blocking access to the beach. And I don't know the answer to that and probably wouldn't want to discuss that on a public phone line.
Yeah. But yet, we should discuss this much further. Just let people know we're interested in paying attention.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dan.
Sure.
Great insight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
Thank you to everybody who's written letters to us and in support and with questions about South Fork Wind Farm. I appreciate the community input and this opportunity for our public and constituents to be able to call in with their support or concerns or questions. So I thank you, everybody who's watching.
Okay, the question is, do we want to leave the record open for written comment?
I think we should. I think that's the only fair thing to do, is leave it open to the community. Maybe have that finish up the Friday before our next meeting.
That would be the 22nd.
I'm good with that.
Would everybody feel that's an adequate period of time?
Yes.
Yes.
So we'll accept written comment until end of working day, January 22nd.
And Francis, that includes email comment?
Yes.
Thank you.
Do we need a motion and a second and a vote, or?
I think that'd be a nice way to memorialize it. I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Before we go, is there anyone else on the line?
Chair, there are just 2 callers that have been on the whole meeting who were not able to speak when we went to those numbers. If you'd like, I can check again.
Sure, give them one more chance.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well,
One little tidbit of information.
One of them just hung up. I'm going to go to a
Oh,
caller, last 4 digits 1378. I'm unmuting right now.
Hello, caller. Would you like?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I already testified. I was just listening to the interesting
Oh,
dialogue.
okay. That's fine.
Adrian.
Great.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, Adrian.
Thanks.
All right.
Hi, and thank you. Bye.
Almost. Yeah, you can come in here though. I'll clean up.
Chair, there's no other callers on the line.
Arlene.
It's done. It's just.
Arlene, mute.
Sorry.
Okay. Jim.
Francis, before we get off, I circulated some information on a public hearing tomorrow night. The applicant apologizes for us not having been noticed. We were noticed on their prior application, which was withdrawn back in 2018. But as most of you, I think you've all received it. This is the Ronald Lauder property and the application to basically rebuild a house on that property where a house was lost back in Superstorm Sandy. There is a public hearing scheduled tomorrow night. We have a couple different options as to how we could address this. One, we could exercise our rights in the sense that we were not properly notified on this prior to the hearing and ask the hearing to be rescheduled, recognizing the impacts that COVID and the backlog schedule that the ZBA has. An alternative would be to allow the hearing to go forward. A member of the Beaches and/or Ponds Committee, because this is an application that does fall within the purview of both committees. As a member of that committee could attend the Zoom meeting tomorrow night and ask that there be a continuance on the public hearing to allow for any comments that we may or may not have related to this application. I'd love it if I could get some indication of what direction you think we might want to go.
This seems to me it's quite an oversight, given the fact that we're the only adjacent landowner to this property.
Well, okay. Hey, John, there's only one thing. There's a town document that checks us off as like they were going to get in touch with us, which typically they do, but we did not get a notice of a public hearing. And usually we do get notices of the ZBA's agenda, and we have the opportunity to find the ones that didn't notice us, because before you were on the board, this was pretty much an every time there was a public hearing occurrence. We rarely got noticed by an applicant, very rarely. And this was something that the applicant's agent recognized late in the game and said, geez, and he beat a path to my door and to Chris early this morning. Listen, it's the board's pleasure. We can have this public hearing delayed. It's within our rights, or we can still probably be able to be heard if we do have any issues related to this project. And like I said, the entire application in supporting documents has been circulated throughout this board. So,
and this is.
Hey, Jim, it's Rick.
Yeah.
What do you think about, proceeding with the public hearing and we get an opportunity to weigh in via written or to maybe speak briefly at the next meeting about it and let things move along a little bit, and it's just a second step.
Well, that was my thought on it.
Yeah, I have no problem with watching the program tomorrow night. I would be happy to do that. I've printed out all the documents, the correspondence, and I think if we just ask to leave it open, is that what you're suggesting? Leave it open so that we can do it?
Susan, I've attended a lot of these hearings over the years for various reasons. I've never had a problem basically weighing in, because that's what a public hearing is all about. We are an adjacent property owner. We have rights to be heard. And if we have some conditions that we would like, if a permit is going to be issued here, we can articulate that at the meeting and also ask for a continuance on this hearing. And that's not an unheard of thing at all. They were
Jim,
I am suggesting that.
And Susan, if you don't mind, I'll quickly chime in. Andy Hammer did follow up with an email, and he correctly indicated to us that the COVID rules for these hearings do require that the records stay open for 2 weeks. So with that in mind, it will be open for 2 weeks from the meeting, which, looking at the calendar, would show that it would stay open until the 26th or the day after our next meeting. So that's kind of a moot point. The record will be open for more comment.
Okay.
It seems to me, though, that it should be something that we have a chance to discuss at our next meeting if that's warranted, and have enough time to then respond back to them. You think a day is enough?
Yes. I think a day's enough, because if you can't compose your thoughts between now and 2 weeks from now, in all honesty, that to me is a moot situation. John,
I'm not talking about.
The hearing is tomorrow night.
I know that. I'm not talking about us composing our thoughts to come to our meeting. I'm talking about coming up with some, if we have the, some kind of a collective opinion here or points that we want to make coming out of our next meeting, is the next day too soon to be able to get that together and get it into the ZBA?
I don't, John, personally, I don't think so, because if there are some things of concern that you'd like to share with other members of this board, we have the opportunity in the next 2 weeks to do that, so that on the evening of our next meeting, which is the 25th, those concerns could be brought to the public portion of that meeting, but it would have already been circulated throughout our other board members. And I think everybody's capable of coming to some consensus on this in that time.
Mr. Halsey has given some information in the third paragraph of his email to you, Jim, which lays out, it's going to be a smaller square footage resident.
Yeah, guys, Susan, we really don't need to go through the particulars of the application. Everybody's received the same package. You can go through it. It's pretty meat and potatoes in terms of there is a reduced set of plans showing the floor plans and elevations of the proposed building. There is a proposed survey. I believe they probably forwarded the DEC permits on this, which actually had some requirements of their own that contradicts what the town was asking for a little bit, not much. But I think we can all go over this and
Yes, well, what you're saying is exactly what I was trying to say. It seems as though it's not a very complicated issue. They have, it says that per the town's concerns, they've changed the scope of the current project. So I think if you have time to watch this particular application tomorrow night, and then we can talk about it. We have 2 weeks, right?
Yes. Yes, and if anybody's got any questions, I did spend some time today looking at it. I think I got a pretty good understanding. I remember when the first application was circulated. And unfortunately—
So if anyone has any questions or concerns, reach out to Jim.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay, I want to thank Dan Spitzer and Miller Buckner for sitting in with us tonight. And thank you to LTV for hosting.
Yeah. Hey, thanks a lot, Dan Miller.
Yep. Have a good evening, everybody.
Everyone have a good one.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everyone.